Hey there, and welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. It is great to have you join us. This podcast series features those who have gained victory over a life encounter. With that life experience, we encourage those who are experiencing something that might seem to be insurmountable. We advance and encourage others by passing forward evaluated life experiences. We have three objectives in this podcast series. We want to encourage those who are engaged in any type of life encounter by offering to walk with you to help you gain victory over anything that might seem impossible. We want to share our experience to help you. Our second objective is to help you develop a confident resolve that there are multiple options to get past any life obstacle. It's a matter of thinking into the situation. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you are facing a dilemma resulting from a previous decision you wish you could reverse, we want to help you think into all of the facts and factors involved in making an informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business manager, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture Company, who is sponsoring this podcast series, where she addresses the church's response to her need for emotional support. She wanted people to surround her, not to solve a problem, but just to be that source of comfort, to be a friend who meets her needs. As it turns out, the church was a little bit less responsive than what she was hoping. For the pastors who are listening to this podcast, we are not here to denigrate the church. Rather, we're just describing how some churches are, but maybe more so from Erin's perspective, what she needed. And it was not someone to solve her problem, but more so just empathize with me, stand along beside me, walk with me, and just help me through this challenge. Marty, what are some takeaways you got from Erin and her testimony through this podcast?
Two things. Ron, I really appreciate Erin starting this ministry for the victims of a spouse that hasn't been faithful, abuse, addiction, whatever type of addiction the spouse may have. Erin is starting this ministry because she has experienced just that. She has a heart. She has the personality to sit down and help you feel accepted, and that she really wants to help you. And as you were talking about the church women, some of the women may feel, I have never been through that. So how do I help someone? She talks to the women how they can recognize this person coming in. Maybe not the first time, but several times they come in. They just seem a little different. So you get to know them. You develop a relationship with them, and you let them know they are there for you.
And Marty, I think the message to pastors, those who are leaders in various churches, the message is there's a need for those who are the recipient of betrayal to have that person to walk beside them. Let's listen and learn together. Very insightful. Erin, thank you so much again for joining us for our 9th episode. For our listeners who may be joining us for the first time, I want to strongly encourage you to go back to the first couple of episodes to learn more about the background. You've been through what you have characterized, and many of us, as we've experienced with you, a life trauma that involved a divorce, and it was, I'll use the term, pretty ugly in the terms of the emotional impact on you. Yeah. And today, what I'd like to do for our listeners is discuss how you were able to, after all, you said it took nearly 6 months or so to overcome the emotions, to try to put things back in order. But I want to talk with you about your experience with I'll use the term support group. Did you find that within the church? And for the listeners who are joining us early on, Marty, Erin, and I are faith-based. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. In that context, I think we should be able to look within the church to find that support group, but yet there's some people who feel they cannot find the support group that maybe the people inside the church are more judgmental than they are helpful. So, Erin, I certainly don't want to try to direct the conversation in any particular way. Welcome aboard, our listeners, and Marty and I are very interested in continuing learning about your life experience.
Thanks, Ron and Marty. I appreciate you inviting me back. I really like the question, where do we find support? And as Christians and believers, we do go and we do hope that we can find support for the hard things that we're going through in our life in the church. I have to say that I didn't necessarily find the support that I was looking for within the church. And that was really a struggle and an obstacle and a real hurdle for me, especially with the initial impact of the disclosure. I did call my church after I learned about my husband's sex addiction, trying to figure out which end was up. I did. They were helpful, which I think was a good thing. They were helpful because I asked specifically about counselors. I needed to know if they knew counselors that dealt specifically with the sex addiction aspect from a partner, not from an addict, but from a partner. There are, and they did give me a couple. I was able to reach out to one who was extremely helpful. And I did see her for quite a while, for almost a year. Again, trying to find that support within the church and finding other women, because I knew that they were out there, but there wasn't necessarily a group within the church that I was attending. And I was a little bit disappointed because there was a lot of help for the addict, which I do understand, but there was hardly any help for the partner. And I think this might be true for most addictions, or for a lot of the addictions, that there isn't necessarily a support for the spouse, the children, along that line. And I do know that it's a fine line, because the church is the church, and they aren't counselors necessarily. They may have counselors, but they probably want to be careful not to get too involved with on one side or the other. But when I see that they're there helping the addict, I'm thinking you've got to be able to help out the spouse or the partner. And I think sometimes they just don't know what to do with, especially with this addiction. It's yuck. I mean, it can be so complex. Where I did end up finding support, and one was obviously God, and just digging in deep with him and digging in deep with his word and in prayer when it wasn't there. I even had a hard time, I'm kind of switching gears really quickly. I even had a hard time going online, because, that's what we do now. We have the internet, right, as a resource. I had a hard time going online and finding even Christian women or Christian individuals or counselors who actually would entertain this partner aspect of the sex addiction from a Christian perspective. Like, what do I do with this? What does this look like? It's hard because it brings up a lot of feelings that I had during that time and not being able to feel. And I'm going to be really honest. That's why I'm getting into the area of coaching that I'm getting into, is because I want to be a place where women can come, or even men, say are the partners of addicts, or maybe the ex-partners of addicts, and to just create a safe space for them to say, you're not alone. I've been where you've been. I want to help walk with you as you walk through it. I did, as we have talked in an earlier episode, I was very blessed to have a really good group of girlfriends, just three of my closest girlfriends that walked with me through that. So that's kind of actually where I pivoted, and where I found my support was in my girlfriends. But I did, and I was okay for a while. And then it was last summer, I got triggered pretty heavily with just a couple of different scenarios and instances that just kind of was like one after the next over about a month's period of time. It was in June. And I thought, wow, I still have more healing to do. I still have a lot more healing to do. And so what I did is I got down and dirty, and I was like, okay, I'm going to find divorce coach, which I did find a divorce coach who specialized with partners of sex addicts. I got into a group with women, and that was through my counselor that I found that. I got into counseling again with a specialist who is a betrayal trauma specialist, because that really focused in on my specific area of need and of trauma. So she was really great in helping me find a coach and a group of women that I could connect with, which was so healing and so great. But I do know that there are places out there and there are organizations out there that do this. I'm just not as familiar with some of them. I know Celebrate Recovery does do a lot in churches. And I've heard that some churches do a spouse part, but not everybody does a spouse, which I think is a real miss in the church. It really is. And Ron, you had mentioned earlier too about how the church, how often when we're in church, especially, we can go and we can feel very judged by them or not supported by them. In the one place where we want to be supported by them, these are our people. These are the places that, again, we want to be and feel supported. And I so vividly remember this was going to church by myself, a new church by myself for the first time. Oh my gosh, that was the hardest thing. One of the hardest things I ever did. I had a pit in my stomach. I'm like, Erin, you should not be feeling this way. This is should be your home. This is, but I felt like everybody knew I was divorced. The church doesn't support divorce, And so what a counselor ended up saying to me, and I thought this was good. I said, I felt judged. I sat in the back. I usually like to sit in the middle to the front. And I just felt judged. I kind of got in, sat at the service, and I left and didn't want to really engage with anybody. And one of the things she had said to me, which was really good because it helped me process. She said, because I told her how I was feeling, and she said, are you being judged or are you judging yourself for what's gone down? Not that I really should be judging myself considering, what we've talked about before, but I think I was judging myself because I was at a different, let's call it a label, in that I, was the partner of a sex addict, but I was, and soon to be ex-partner. And then I was also, because I was getting divorced. And so that was such a taboo thing for me, because again, I shared, I didn't get married to get divorced. And so that's just a little bit on how I do wish there was more support in the church. I wish maybe there was a less fear around it, because I can understand there being, fearfulness in the fact that we don't know what to do. Just let's talk. Just if somebody is just there to be a safe place to just receive what these women and these men have, gosh, that would be great. We're not looking for solutions necessarily. We're just looking for a safe place to come, to be heard, to be seen, because that's another thing. You really, as a partner, when the addict's getting the help that they need, you kind of fall into the background, and yet you do have a lot of needs that need to be met. And so, yeah, I'm kind of going on, but those are definitely some thoughts that I have.
Do you think the reason some women don't reach out or anything is because we've never been there? So we don't know how to answer or how to help, because we don't know what you're feeling. Yes, we know you're sad and all of that. And you just want acceptance. And that's a big thing that I feel in churches. Mm-hmm. They don't accept. Mm-hmm. And they may not mean to, mm-hmm. but they just don't. So is it because we don't know how to answer that? We don't know how to help. We just don't understand what you've gone through. Is that it? Or is it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Marty. I think that can absolutely be part of it. Not because, again, which was helpful when I was in that coaching group with other women, they got and they knew the things that I had gone through. I knew what they had gone through. We didn't have to do, there's a lot of I've been there. Yeah, I gotcha. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I would say yes to, that's probably why women may not feel as comfortable in the church. I do know that there are times where the church, and I had read enough of stories, because I dug deep again, trying to find people's stories and just hear about it. But a lot of times it was when you're going to, say, leaders in the church, they aren't always giving you the best advice. They don't want marriages to break up, right? And I don't either. But separation isn't a bad thing if it can be managed well. And if it's, I guess one of the things that I wish somebody had said to me initially was, are you safe? Just knowing that this is sex addiction, just, are you safe? Any addiction, are you safe? It took me a long time to get to that space to where I really understood that I wasn't safe. And it was right before the disclosure. And I think if somebody had said, hey, Erin, are you safe? I could have said, no, I'm not safe. To really be able to understand, I understood later how not safe I was. It was on many different levels. But that's just to know that someone cares about your safety, to know that someone cares that, yeah, that's huge, to have that kind of compassion for a human being, whether you realize it, whether you understand it or not. It speaks volumes to be able to go and just say, hey, you know what? I don't get it. I'm so willing to sit with you in this. I'm willing to be here for you. I'm willing to just be that ear that's going to listen. And again, maybe it's like, because I don't know, you're going to help her research. They're going to help her find a good therapist. You're going to help her find a good space or place to be able to come, or a program that maybe you can be brought into the church to help them and support them. But I think so often, again, getting back to we don't want, because marriage is so just prolific. It just, divorce is just everywhere, and it keeps skyrocketing. And I know the church doesn't, it's not, again, why we get married is to get divorced. That's not it at all. But I think sometimes more damage can be done keeping people in places where they aren't safe and where it's not healthy for them to be able to actually even start the process of healing, so that they can come back together, so that they can grow. One of the things I found really interesting was the first counselor was like, you are not, your husband at the time, your husband can do his counseling, you're going to do your counseling, but right now we're not doing couples counseling. We're not, because she understood his addiction. She understood the level of manipulation that had gone on, the level of lying that had gone on. And she's like, nope. And she actually put a boundary in there for me and said, no, we're not doing couples counseling. And I said, well, like, how long? And she said, maybe a year and a half. I was like, wow. But because she's like, Erin, you've been married for so long. This has been going on for so long that a lot of times when you're in, and it can be the wife or the husband that is a manipulator and that's lying, but they can manipulate counselors. They can do things like that. And then the person who, say, is being manipulated isn't free or isn't safe to share what's really going down or how they're really feeling. And so again, it's really, initially, I think it's how do we create a safe environment within the church for partners to come and just be loved on and be cared for. And I think that, Marty, even though you may not have gone through that, I know your heart. I think you could still come alongside a woman, especially a woman you cared about, and love on her and be there for her and support her and encourage her. Because one of the things I talked about earlier too was that group of girls really helped me keep my focus on Christ. And they were really good to keep me in his word, because I tried going to church, and then right afterwards, and then I just pulled completely away. I just pulled completely out because I didn't feel supported, and I didn't know. I wasn't pulling away from God. I was in God's word every day. I was loving, I was being with him. And that was it was a sweet time and a time of healing. I pulled out of church for a long time. And then getting back was kind of hard too, because, I'm like, oh, here we go. I knew I'm created for community and created to be in community. And so that's, God took me through that as well.
What you and Marty are discussing is extremely important. We in the church, I think, to be very effective, we must be empathetic. We must be able to think as you would. And we must be that safe space. In other words, we need to know, there's a very definite possibility Erin does not feel physically safe. We don't know exactly what she's going through. And I'm the kind of person who believes I don't necessarily have to have experienced exactly what you did. Now, I'm not proposing that anybody can be an effective counselor, but I am saying, as a prayer warrior, as a person who says, Erin, Marty and I are with you, and you know it. You absolutely know it, because we empathize. We will pray with you. We want to know what you are and even what you will experience, such that we can, through God's wisdom, can project what you may go through and be working with you to help you find the support you want, you need. But we would want for you in all cases to feel Marty and I are a safe space. You know, when we say we'll pray for you, you don't ever doubt that. We will. And Erin, we're working with you, walking beside you, and you've got that support. You know it. And let's just say we don't have any credentials, shingles, I call it, degrees on the wall, but yet our prayer support. Marty, what do you think?
That's true. I'm going to go a little more personal.
Yeah.
Woman to woman.
Mm-hmm.
You want acceptance from that woman, and you want them to listen to you. First of all, that's what you need. You just need to know that that woman cares for you and supports you. And I'm going to say something, and I hope it doesn't sound very bad, but don't give me scripture right away. Sit down with,
yeah.
I don't want to, not that I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear that acceptance and support, and I'm here. Right?
Right. And you know, I have a really good friend, and she's been in trauma school, and we talk a lot about this, and it's about being able to hold something for somebody. It's about being able to bear another's burden. Yes. And we don't necessarily do that by popping out scripture right away. Agreed. Now, some people are going to, and I always try to think, oh, I love their heart, but yeah, I just have to put that to the side right now, because I know the intention is good. But yeah, I think it's just about knowing, again, like we said, someone is safe, that they're just willing to sit with us, to listen, to know this is, all of this is messy. It just is. It's just messy. And you know what? Some people don't want to get into that. They just don't want to get into the weeds with you. You don't have to necessarily get into all the weeds. It's about, I think sometimes, and we all know because we're coaches, it's about asking good questions. It's about loving on them, just asking questions to help them maybe process some of the things as you guys are doing, even just with me in this podcast. You're asking good questions, things that are going to pull some more things out. But I think asking them, even though they may not know what it is they need, it might be making suggestions, thinking, okay, if I were in that spot, what about this? And just saying, hey, would it help you if, are you looking for more space or more time? Would it help you if I took the kids this evening or this night? Would it help you? What are things, or asking her to think about some things that would help. And that's a big ask, especially when you're in that spot, because I'm the kind of person, I like to help everybody, but I don't like to ask for help. We think you can do it on your own, but we can't. So there's humility. It's a really humbling space to be in. But yeah, God's word is where we need to be, but it isn't always what needs to be said. I think the whole allowing them to be heard, because a lot of times they're not going to feel heard, or people aren't going to, I even had people questioning me, which is fine. That's where they were at. Like, did you really not know, Erin? I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, I don't know, it's more confusion. And so I just think listening, letting them know that they're heard, letting them know that they're seen, letting them know that you are willing to just sit with them, and whatever it is they need, they can call, just like you're saying, they can call you at any time. I need to get out, or even scheduling. I had a girlfriend and I loved it. We had lunch every month. And it was just this time for me to just go, and to let down and to laugh and to cry and just kind of release all that stuff that, you're trying to go through. I also think, Marty, you were talking earlier too, I think if you know somebody who's been through something, so I've had people reach out to me, which I love, and said, hey, Erin, I have a friend who's going through this, and I know you've been through it. What can I do? How can I help her? And so we have great conversations like that. And I always say, hey, if she wants to talk to me too, I am always open. just as I'm sure the two of you are, with things that each of us have been through. I am so available and so open to talk to women who have gone through that, or to just be, again, a sounding board of somebody who knows this. And I, for instance, and this is kind of a different situation, I met a gal who was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was really young. And I said, hey, I've got a really good friend who's been through this. Would you be willing, if she's willing to talk with you, would you be okay with me giving you her information? And she was like, yeah, I think I would. And I'm like, okay. So I called my girlfriend, and my friend's like, absolutely, I will. Because she was doing the same, she was having the same things done, double mastectomy and then reconstruction. And so I called my girlfriend and I asked her, and she's like, I would absolutely. Well, what was beautiful is I connected them, and she checked in on her and kind of walked her through that, because she knew I didn't. So sometimes we can be that conduit. Sometimes we can be that connection to another person too. But we don't stop praying. We don't stop meeting. We continue to do that and allow them to share as much as they want to share. But yeah, and just, again, knowing that, just being that loyal friend in that safe space, so that they know they can, kind of being a vault, as I like to put it, the vault where it's like what's said here gets to stay here.
This is such an important topic. Our listeners need to know from your personal experience, Erin, how can we in the church more effectively empathize with and help? Some people are saying, I'm not equipped, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a whatever. But a lot of times we just take the time to listen, empathize, and make certain the person knows we're walking with you as you experience this. And I too have never experienced this, but so many times, as you have very eloquently said, sometimes you talking, we listening is therapeutic. And if we are listening with the intent of learning, we can discern different things that are going on. And through that process, we can determine what your needs are. And I don't think it takes a specific person with, I'm not saying a prophetic ability. I'm not saying that at all. But if we listen, we can learn. Erin, would you be willing to have another podcast? Because this is so important. We need to learn inside the church how to be more empathetic, more helpful. And some people, as Marty was saying, just don't know how to handle different things. Do I have to have gone through exactly what you went through to be able to empathize with you? I don't think so, and so forth. But learning from your experience is very valuable. We look forward to continuing our series and learning through your experience. I want to thank you on behalf of our listeners for sharing, and we look forward to continuing our journey with you.
Well, I so appreciate the opportunity, Marty and Ron. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you have a desire to reach out to those who are hurting because of any number of life events, life encounters? Do you have a feeling of inadequacy, that you're not equipped? Do you feel you maybe lack the courage to reach out? Do you feel you don't have the training to reach out to somebody? Do you feel you don't have the listening skills? Are there other factors that make you feel inadequate or just not ready for whatever term you would use? You just don't feel you're ready to reach out to someone who's hurting? Do you feel you have the capability to just listen to someone, to be that point of empathy, to be the safe space where a person can share their needs in total confidence, knowing you would not share that need, or at least you would not express in any form, in a negative way, a person's need? Many times, a person who has been betrayed in marriage, it could happen when a person is grieving the loss of a loved one. They feel alone. There could be those who are a friend of, could be a spouse of a person on drugs, alcohol, any of those things. They just want the relationship they used to have. They want the relationship they know they can have, but they are, to a period of time, estranged from the person with whom they would like to have the relationship. But you may not feel you can empathize with, you may not feel equipped, you may think you need some sort of special qualification to work with a person who is hurting. I want to do what I can to appeal to you to say that if you have experienced anything that involves overcoming, you can empathize with, you can identify with, resonate with a person who is hurting, I want to encourage you to reach out to that person, be a listening ear, be that safe space such that the person with whom you're communicating knows you'll not do anything, say anything negative with the person who's expressing their need for a connected relationship, but rather you're a good listening post. Many times just being a good listening post is therapeutic to the person who has a need for connected relationships, communication, and similar type things. But too many of us feel, I'm not certain I can because, and then we fill in the blanks with whatever reasons we have. I'm not saying they're excuses. They could be maybe some valid reasons. But what I am saying is if we were to feel inadequate, ill-equipped in any way, I want to encourage you to do what we can to meet the need of the person who is experiencing some sort of hurt. Reach out to that person, and I think one of the greatest things we can do is listen. By listening, we're letting that person know we care. When that person knows we care, they would be willing to share, which again is therapeutic. I want you to look inside the church, inside of whatever organization you are a part of, and do you have a program? Do you have any type of process set up where you can have the outreach to those who are hurting? And do you feel you can equip those who have a desire to reach out but feel they want to work with someone else to be more equipped, to feel they have more confidence to be able to reach out to someone? Anyone who has the need can find a reason, can find a ministry, a program to help develop that need. When you have the need, when you have the desire to meet that need, any number of people can help you reach that need. Every passion has a worthwhile goal. When the decision is made to pursue, all of us can come together, help, and meet that need. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating with this podcast. We hope you'll want to share this podcast with your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, your Twitter and Instagram communities. The more we share, the greater outreach we have, the greater opportunity we'll have to share with, reach out to, and meet the needs of others. Marty and I are certified life coaches through the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team. If you feel you have been the target of or otherwise need support to overcome any life trauma, I hope you'll contact Marty or me to schedule a complimentary 30-minute coaching session to where we can help you determine if we would be the right ones to help you overcome whatever you're experiencing in life that may have you in a position of not being able to perform to your God-given potential. We also are available to speak. We are keynote speakers. You can find us on espeakers.com. I am Ron Cooper, F4 pilot. I would love to have the opportunity to speak to your group, to share some of my experiences. What our heart desire is to reach out to others, to help advance others, to live their full and greatest God-created potential. Let's work together, let's share, and let's advance others. We look forward to working with you.